We are introduced to the trash of the story. So his party mocks him and treats him like garbage. But what they do not know is that this trash F-rank healer will awaken a power, an ever-evolving skill so powerful and rare that it only awakens once in a century, and it will even terrify the Demon King himself. The story begins with someone mentioning demons, monsters that can take human form. Two men openly discuss an incident that happened 3 days ago. It took place in a town where 7 mages from Eldaria were killed. One of them firmly believes demons were responsible. The other questions whether demons are truly that powerful. In response, his friend explains that demons are a terrifying race of monsters. They possess human-level intelligence, and their magical power surpasses even that of dragons. This explanation leaves the other man puzzled, making him wonder why demons would specifically target mages. He believes it might be connected to a certain rumor, but before he can explain further, a loud curse interrupts them. Someone angrily calls an old man a pervert. A furious female mage pushes him away, demanding to know if he is not done healing her injuries. The healer is none other than the protagonist, Sotel. Her face twists in irritation as she complains that there is no need for him to touch her for so long just to heal her. The so-called trash healer quickly apologizes. He explains that the process takes longer because 2 different poisons are mixed inside her wound. Her outburst draws the attention of the rest of the party. One member thinks she's going too far and asks if she's taking Sotel's side. Shiero, a thief, calmly explains to Amira that she did not mean it that way. Their leader, Radion, a magical swordsman, steps forward and tells Amira to calm down. He says it is a waste of time and effort dealing with Sotel, adding that even looking at him makes him sick. As expected, the loser healer silently accepts the insults without any comeback. The group agrees and tosses a few bronze coins at him as payment. When Sotel sees the amount, he stops them and asks in disbelief if that is truly all he is getting paid. Radian's reply makes it clear that this is exactly what he is worth. He adds that Sotel is lucky to be paid at all, since healers are considered useless trash who do nothing but hide during battles. As the group enters the guild building, adventurers immediately recognize them. They are an A-rank party on the verge of becoming S-rank. Meanwhile, Sotel is left outside, excluded from the group. Sitting on the ground, he reflects on his life and wonders what he should do next. Perhaps quitting adventuring would not be such a bad idea. However, even if it were an option, he knows he cannot afford it. He is an old man with no other skills, and life is already cruel enough. He abandons the thought and decides to drink instead. Thinking about saving money only reminds him of how miserable his life is and how much of a loser he has become. Lost in thought, he fails to notice what is approaching. At first, everything feels normal, like a gentle breeze passing by. In the next moment, he opens his eyes and freezes in shock. Blood pours from his chest. Before he can understand what is happening, he hears a voice filled with mild annoyance. A demon complains about missing a vital strike. Sotel turns toward the voice, and his legs nearly give out. The aura alone is terrifying. He immediately realizes the demon is at least S rank, if not higher. The demon introduces himself as Xion, the 3rd servant of the Demon King. He looks excited, announcing that he has finally found Sotel. Under his lord's orders, he has come to kill him. Sotel's mind fills with questions. How does the demon know him? Why would they want to kill someone like him? But there is no time to find answers. All he can do is to try to survive by healing himself. Xion is briefly surprised by Sotel's spellcasting speed, but he quickly follows up with multiple attacks. Sotel struggles to keep up, suffering deep cuts across his body. Curious, Xion asks if Sotel is deliberately holding back, claiming he could kill him instantly if he wished. The comment enrages Sotel. Out of frustration, Sotel demands to know why a Demon King subordinate is sent to assassinate him when he is nothing more than a trash F-rank healer. Xion stares at him in disbelief and confusion. He finds it amusing that Sotel does not even understand the extent of his own power after all these years. When Sotel questions what he means, Xion refuses to explain much. He says Sotel is a case of wasted potential. Still, he reveals the truth. Sotel's power is enough to terrify the entire demon race, a rare existence that appears once every 1,000 years, yet Sotel remains completely unaware of it. Sotel curses the demon out loud. In the very next second, his head separates from his body. Despite Sotel's ignorance of his own power, he is still a threat that must be eliminated. As life fades from his eyes, Zeon smiles in satisfaction and remarks that it is a relief to finally kill him. Sotel's life flashes before his eyes. All the struggle, pain, and humiliation he endured simply for being an F-rank healer. The contempt of his companions, and that familiar gaze he has grown to despise. Just as he accepts that his miserable life is over, the scene changes. A beautiful landscape appears. Sotel slowly opens his eyes. And just like that, he is reborn, awakening in a younger body. Naturally, the protagonist stares at his palm, wondering what is happening. He walks toward a nearby stream and looks at his reflection. It is clear he is in a different body, but he has no idea who it originally belongs to. Just then, a group of men arrives, shocked to see that he is still alive. Sotel observes them carefully and immediately senses hostile intent. No matter how hard he thinks, no memories surface. The group leader finally speaks, calling him Teria and urging him to hurry up. This makes Sotel wonder if he has misunderstood the situation. However, before he can think further, the man suddenly grabs him by the clothes, leaving him even more confused. The leader turns to his companions and asks if Teria was beaten so badly that he lost his memory. When Sotel shakes his head in denial, the man decides to knock some sense into him. At that moment, everything clicks. This body clearly belongs to a punching bag, which explains the bruises covering it. Even so, Sotel still cannot understand how he ended up inside this body. His thoughts are interrupted when he receives a direct punch to the gut. Instead of collapsing, he tanks the hit as if it is nothing, and anger rises within him. The group's eyes widen in shock as they realize they are no longer dealing with the same Teria. Ignoring their stunned expressions, Sotel instinctively heals all his injuries. One of the lackeys immediately demands to know when he learned healing magic. Sotel calmly tells them he is no longer the loser they once knew. The leader then shows off his strength. His face twists with rage as he orders his lackeys to teach Sotel a lesson. At this point, it looks like the group is the hunters and Sotel is the prey. Sotel comments that he is so angry he cannot even remember the last time he felt this way. In truth, he is ready to educate these kids for daring to disrespect someone with far more life experience. He moves before they can even blink. His first target is the mage in the group, who is taken down instantly. Sotel slams the fool face first into the ground and glares at the rest, demanding to know who is next. A larger man swings at him, but Sotel effortlessly lowers his head and dodges. He counters with a single strike to the man's torso, making him look like he is about to throw up. The leader begins sweating profusely, momentarily wondering if his mind is betraying reality. Sotel turns to him and openly challenges him. The man starts throwing a tantrum, pointing at Sotel and calling him a loser who always relied on the group. His sweat increases as he continues hurling insults, repeatedly calling him useless. That word finally strikes a nerve. Tired of hearing it, Sotel watches as the idiot takes his chance and swings at him with a club. Sotel does not see the chubby man as a threat. He has faced far worse and survived. His staff swings with tremendous force, smashing into the man's face and sending him flying several meters until he crashes into a tree. It feels good to release all that pent-up frustration once in a while. Looking at the destruction, Sotel wonders why the original owner of this body suffered so much. When he finally has time to observe his new body, he realizes something surprising. It is blessed with good physical condition. Even more strangely, he can still use healing magic. He died once, yet now he is alive again. Though many questions fill his mind, Sotel decides to put them aside for now and focus on what he can learn. That is when his eyes land on a piece of paper on the ground. After reading it, he realizes that Teria is an adventurer, an F-rank swordsman. At least now it makes sense why this body has such good physical ability. Still, Sotel believes he needs another test to fully understand his current form. More importantly, he is curious about the mysterious power Zeon mentioned. The narrative explains the adventurer status examination. It is conducted using a magical tool that displays an adventurer's stats and skills. Attributes such as stamina, strength, and magic power are clearly measured. More importantly, the test is carried out regularly and helps track an adventurer's growth over time. Sotel remembers that in his previous life, he never took the test. No matter how hard he tried, he never improved, and his party leader insisted he stop wasting time. Inside the Adventurers Guild, Sotel finally receives his results. He looks at the first page, which contains his basic stats. To his surprise, his profession has changed from swordsman back to healer. Most of his stats are ranked E. He possesses 3 healing skills: Fairy Heal, Angel Heal, and Prayers to the Gods, though the last one is currently inaccessible. Sotel cannot tell whether these stats fully reflect his original abilities or are limited by this new body. However, since his profession has changed, he believes this is most likely the case. He does not understand why the 3rd healing skill cannot be used. Before thinking further, he shifts his attention to the skill Zeon mentioned. When he reaches the skills section, he discovers 2 unfamiliar skills: Bludgeon and Full Auto, both at level 1. Sotel studies Bludgeon closely and recalls that it is a skill normally found in physical attacker classes. He reasons that he may have unintentionally acquired it during moments of danger when he repeatedly swung his staff. He then turns to the second skill, Full Auto. As the name suggests, it automatically activates effects on himself or nearby allies when conditions are met. Sotel wonders if this is the rare skill Zeon described, the one that appears only once in 1,000 years. For now, it does not seem especially frightening, but he decides it needs proper testing. Before he can think further, the door suddenly swings open. His former party members enter the room, looking irritated. His old body is nowhere to be seen. Sotel is startled, realizing he almost forgot about them. The group decides to take a quest without him, believing it is better to simply forget he exists. Only Shiero seems slightly concerned, perhaps the only one with a conscience. But her concern is quickly dismissed. By chance, Sotel makes eye contact with his former leader. The man's expression twists as he warns him to mind his own business. Amira tells him to forget about Sotel and urges everyone to leave. The leader remains clearly irritated, while the mage comments that it is more convenient to go on a quest without dead weight holding them back. Only after the group leaves does Sotel finally relax. They did not recognize him. He then realizes the obvious. He is in a different body now. Naturally, people who once knew him cannot recognize him anymore. If that is the case, this is the perfect opportunity to start over. In the past, he continued being an adventurer because he had no choice. He needed money, and he endured constant mistreatment from his party members. Now, filled with newfound determination, he vows to become a better adventurer and say goodbye to his former life. On the outskirts of the city, Sotel takes on his first main quest alone, slaying 30 wolves solo. The first wolf bares its teeth and lunges. Sotel dodges effortlessly, activates his first skill, and delivers a devastating swing. Each time his staff strikes with full force, a wolf falls. He finds the skill incredibly convenient. For a moment, he considers retaking the status examination. Just then, he feels a sudden surge of power. His critical hit rate increases to 40%, and his vital hit rate also rises to 40%. Bludgeon reaches level 2. He is clearly making progress. At that moment, more wolves appear. Sotel's eyes shine with excitement. He is eager to test his second skill. Sotel shouts the skill name like some kind of Power Ranger, only to make a complete fool of himself. Thankfully, his reflexes are sharp enough to avoid disaster. He finishes off the remaining wolves with ease. After clearing the area, he frowns in confusion and wonders why the skill did not activate. Then he remembers an important detail he overlooked. The second skill, full auto, activates its effects automatically. It does not require manual activation. Effects such as defense boosts, attack enhancement, magic reinforcement, and healing trigger on their own when needed. With this realization, Sotel decides to test it properly. Instead of using his staff, he charges forward and uses his fists. He takes a few injuries in the process, but the poor wolf will never enjoy meat again. Sotel is left in awe. Full auto does not merely increase his defense. It also activates healing at the same time. In other words, the monster deals virtually zero damage to him. Now, imagine if his attack and magic power also increase automatically. That would make him completely broken. Since skills level up much faster once an adventurer becomes aware of them, becoming an overpowered existence is no longer far-fetched. Everything finally makes sense. The reason the Demon King went out of his way to assassinate him is because of this skill. With full auto, Sotel does not simply grow stronger. His growth has no limit, similar to an endless evolution. He feels both excited and annoyed at the same time. He is excited because this skill allows him to achieve his goals. He is annoyed because he never realized he possessed such a treasure. It was not entirely his fault. In his previous life, he never had the chance to fight enemies on his level because he was stuck in an A-rank party. On top of that, his current body has outstanding physical attributes. He can now even see the wolves moving in slow motion. At this point, he is the perfect combination of mage and fighter, something like a paladin or a templar. Eventually, Sotel completes the quest. With this, he understands even more clearly why the Demon King feared him. If only he had known about this skill earlier, he would never have lived as a loser. But now he has a second life, and this time will be different. To be honest, instead of rushing off to defeat the Demon King and become a hero, Sotel simply wants to enjoy life in a new way. And maybe, just maybe, build himself a harem along the way. The scene returns to the city. Sotel brings back everything he can loot from the wolves. Out of pure excitement, he goes overboard and ends up killing 90 wolves instead of the required 30. When he enters the Adventurers Guild, a man is seen shamelessly flirting with the receptionist. The poor fool begs for a chance, only making the girl visibly uncomfortable. He keeps talking about how cute she looks when she is shy and insists she stop playing hard to get. That is when Sotel steps in. Thankfully, he arrives just in time. Naturally, his presence irritates the nameless adventurer, or rather, the simp adventurer. Meanwhile, Rosa freezes as she stares at the mountain of sacks and monster materials placed before her. Sotel notices her reaction and wonders if something is wrong. Her brain needs a moment to process what she is seeing. When she stays silent, Sotel quickly hands over the quest slip. The quest clearly states that only 30 wolves are required. Only then does Rosa finally speak, while Sotel awkwardly apologizes and admits he may have killed a bit too many. The entire guild starts murmuring. Some adventurers recognize him as a rookie, yet killing that many wolves makes them question his true ability. Sotel nervously asks Rosa if he will get into trouble. Instead of scolding him, she excitedly says it is amazing. After recovering from her shock, she cheers and congratulates him for completing his first quest. The fact that he did it alone, despite being listed as a healer, makes it even more impressive. For the first time, Sotel sees a girl smiling at him. Clearly, he is making progress. He then asks if this achievement is enough to promote him to E rank. Rosa cheerfully responds that he might even qualify for D rank. Sotel notices how different her attitude is compared to their interaction in his previous life, and he cannot help but feel good about himself. That is when the simp adventurer rudely tells him to leave if he is done with his business. He arrogantly adds that he has never seen Sotel before. Sotel tries to remain polite, but the man suddenly starts making a scene. He claims he can see through Sotel's intentions and accuses him of flirting with Rosa. He then questions how a healer could possibly solo 90 wolves. Still calm, Sotel asks what he means. The simp quickly comes to his own conclusion, claiming Sotel must have bought the wolf materials from another adventurer. Sotel stares at him like he is an idiot and asks why he would do something like that. The man ignores him and turns back to Rosa, boasting that unlike Sotel, he can complete quests solo. He flexes his muscles dramatically to prove his point. The entire guild falls silent. Rosa can only stare at him in disbelief. Sotel sighs and realizes the guy is crushing hard on poor Rosa. He wonders why the simp thinks Sotel has been lying all along. Sotel tries to explain that he completed the quest himself, but the simp interrupts him again, arguing that wolves are resistant to magic and that a healer could never pull it off. Sotel finally snaps back, saying what truly makes no sense is being interrupted before he can even explain. He adds that he did not use magic and instead fought with his staff. The simp stares at him as if he is listening to a joke, then bursts into loud laughter, convinced Sotel is even dumber than he thought. At this point, Sotel mentally concludes that nothing he says will be believed. The idiot grows more hostile and demands to know what Sotel wants. Sotel replies that he wants nothing and decides to leave, commenting that the fool keeps interrupting him and that it is not like they will meet again. That is when the simp completely loses control. He lunges forward with a clenched fist. Sotel sees the punch coming. His full auto skill activates instantly. For a split second, it looks like he takes serious damage, but the next moment, blood splashes onto the floor. The simp screams, demanding to know what Sotel did. In reality, his fist nearly shatters on impact with Sotel's face. Sotel suffers nothing more than a small scratch and wonders if the man is blind for not noticing he barely did anything. Right in front of the entire guild, Sotel's injury heals on its own. At the same time, his full auto skill reaches level 2, increasing his healing speed and reflexes. The commotion draws the attention of other adventurers. They openly mock the simp, calling him pathetic for starting a fight and ending up with what looks like a broken hand. Already furious, the simp becomes even angrier. He draws his sword. Charging forward like a main character in his own story, he swings at Sotel. Sotel's enhanced reflexes kick in immediately. He shifts his balance and dodges the first slash with ease. He predicts the second strike just by watching the man's grip. He is not only reading the man's movements like a book, but his mind and body now move as one, perfectly synchronized. Instead of stopping the fight, the surrounding adventurers simply watch as if it is free entertainment. They mock the simp for losing to a rookie, which only fuels his rage further. He roars, declaring that he will kill Sotel. Sotel calmly responds, calling him inexperienced, and takes a proper stance, ready to end this farce once and for all. The simp launches a flurry of sword strikes. Sotel weaves between them, almost dancing through each attack. This only fuels the man's fury. In the end, the simp loses his composure and throws out a reckless swing, leaving himself completely open. Sotel does not waste the opportunity. The simp sees the counterattack coming, but could do nothing but watch. Sotel's strike lands squarely on his torso. The man looks like he is about to lose his breakfast as the impact sends him flying into the wall. Sotel is surprised by how weak the man is. He barely put any force into the blow. It seems his physical attributes have already increased. Indeed, his rank has risen from F to E. The surrounding adventurers stare in stunned silence. To completely crush the man's ego, Sotel calmly asks if he is all right. The simp looks at Sotel, then at everyone staring at him, and feels utterly humiliated. Without saying another word, he quietly leaves the guild, confusing several onlookers. Sotel watches him go with a look of pure contempt. Once the loser leaves, the other adventurers quickly gather around Sotel. One of them comments on how incredible he is and confidently says the simp will never show his face in the guild again. Moments ago, they were just bystanders. Now, they suddenly act friendly toward him. That is when Rosa approaches. She thanks Sotel and apologizes, thinking it was her fault he got into trouble with the simp. Sotel tells her it was not her fault at all. She looks like she wants to say something more, but Sotel reassures her and admits he dislikes people like that man. Rosa stares at him for a moment, surprised, then thanks him sincerely. Hopefully, he is not one of those dense protagonists. Later, Sotel walks through the streets with no destination in mind. He reflects on everything that has happened so far. He does not feel sad at all. In fact, he finds it all strangely enjoyable. In his previous life, he remained a trash healer because he could not learn offensive magic. Eventually, he gave up on himself. Now, in contrast, his current body holds incredible growth potential. Living in a new body does not seem like a bad thing at all. For example, he can now travel to the city of Baldaria. The last time he went there was with his former party during a mission. He remembers falling into a monster nest and barely surviving. After fighting his way out, he revealed how poorly his party treated him. While they feasted on meat, he was left to eat only vegetables. Shiero was the only one who seemed considerate. Even so, he later suffered food poisoning after eating her leftovers. Perhaps she was only pretending to care. This time, things are different. He truly plans to enjoy himself. Although many questions still linger in his mind, he decides to set them aside for now. Living in the present feels like the best approach. With that decided, he plans to head to the city the following day. Later, Sotel prepares for the journey. He is as excited as a child before a field trip. His preparations are almost complete when he starts thinking about Korea's original home. This place seems to belong to him, not Korea. His current clothes are far too old for his new body. That is when he notices a pot simmering over the fire. At first glance, it looks like something delicious. Unfortunately, we are quickly corrected. He calls it a sevener medicinal stew mixed with seasonings meant to infuse magic. Sotel calls it a potion and wonders who would give such a thing such a fancy name. Completely absorbed, he inspects the pot like a seasoned chef. Before suddenly, loud banging echoes at the door. Startled, Sotel turns toward it, irritation flashing in his eyes. He wonders which idiot has lost their mind enough to disturb him now.